Hello guys, welcome to Broken Windows. We are so happy that you're here back with us. The tribe, the Broken Windows tribe. I'm your host, Shadrack Manano.
Joel Oteam.
And we're here again to take you through the BS. But today we're joined with two guests. I'm going to start with you.
My name is Mukisa Mark.
That's all they have to know for now. Mark.
My name is Kuyochin Abigail.
And Abby. Can we call you Abby?
Kuyochin.
Abby.
I've never really managed to mention that name, but yeah. Kuyochin Abigail is really
And today we just want to have a solid discussion on something that is like the new craze in town. Not the new craze because it has always been there, but I want to talk about alcohol and all forms of substance abuse, drugs, weed, all those things, and maybe people who smoke powder. Have you ever snorted powder?
Me? Eh?
Yes.
No.
You look like one of.
Why?
You look
Because
like
I have
it.
Smooth skin. No, I've never snorted. Yes, and our focus. I think one of the things that I would want to say is that, do you guys feel that our age is the age of like way back when the hippies existed? Are we the modern hippies now? Because back then they used to try out any kind of substance and it would make them wear differently, do certain things in a different way. Do you think that age is being evolved right now again, especially us in Uganda?
Is this the age of the hippies of us, the millennials?
Yeah, I feel like it is because it seems these days everyone is doing what they want. Okay, there's rules to things, and suddenly it seems it's okay to break them. They don't apply. Yeah, we've thrown them away, really.
I know there's a lot of substance consumption has gone high since lockdown. You can see it in public spaces now.
Yeah,
you can see it in public spaces. The thing about the hippies, they used to tell them one of the ways the U.S. government fought against drug abuse was telling white women that if they smoked marijuana, they would want to have sex with black men.
so that was a way to make them not.
So that like all white men were like, no, we shall not allow our women to smoke these things.
They want to sleep with black men, and when they start sleeping with them, they never stop.
They will never stop.
When you go black, you never go back.
But today, because Mark, you're here, you've had some experience with drugs. You know how they affect someone.
Of course.
It is not always this pretty thing that nightlife want to now do where people, you go and smoke or even drink. Not always like that.
Yeah.
How bad does it get?
Something about drugs and alcohol is that each and every one is gets a different reaction to whatever they use. Using a substance is not the problem, but getting addicted to it afterwards it becomes the biggest problem. So that's where people fail to draw the line. Till now I've crossed the line, I can no longer use normally, and that's the problem.
How do you cross the line? When do you know?
That's the issue. But most especially our bodies have warnings. They warn at times, like the battery on your phone. They can warn. They can warn at times and tell you this is not right. I can't contain this.
It's important to tell us and our viewers about these warning signs.
The warning signs.
Some of us have crossed them.
For example, let me give alcohol. If you start getting blackouts, whenever I drink, I get blackouts. That's a warning sign that something is not right. You can no longer handle. Delusions. You hear things, seeing things, all those
are warning signs.
Yeah, warning signs.
Memory laxity.
Yeah, all that. So when you start to realize and you don't pay attention to them, that's when you know that
you're abusing the drug.
Yes.
But there are so many other things we abuse. Is that something you abuse? Where you feel like, by the way, this is a low-key addiction. It may not even be like a substance or a bad thing,
but something you feel you're actually addicted to.
Yeah, it's simple. Sometimes forget. It's something simple, but over time, it gets very extremely unhealthy. For example, some people are addicted to movies. Someone they would cut work, not to watch movies all day, every day.
That is how addictions play out.
Yeah, and something about weight that I've had is when you gain weight, something happens in your brain such that every minute you want food. That
Yes.
becomes a disorder. You're like almost addicted to food.
Yes, you're struggling with food like that.
Yes.
So I wanted also, before I think we go back to him, I wanted to find out from you, are there like, at what point do you feel like someone, or would you think you would try out these drugs?
Will you ever be moved to try out drugs?
To try out something?
If, like, what do you think are the general reasons people try out drugs?
I think people try out drugs because sometimes your friends are doing these drugs and
Yes.
you're like, if it's not killing them, okay, I feel like effects come over time.
Yes.
So if you're trying it the first time and it feels good, like there is ecstasy, LSD, those ones stimulate your mind. You stay awake the entire night. You're going to, like, it feels fun. So
Yes.
you're going to keep trying to do it. You'll do it once and it feels good, and then you feel like, oh, I should have done it at this other event, and then you'll do it at that event, and then on any other day, over time you
To
see
pump
that
you, yes.
over time you're seeing that, oh, I'm more fun when I do this, and then you want
Yes.
to be fun suddenly, because you want to be fun. You're going to keep doing and doing and doing it, and before you know, you're addicted to it.
Mark, tell us your experience at one point you realized you actually, what made you feel like you needed rehab?
I started using when I was 15. This was like 7 years ago. I started using when I was 15. But the issue that came up is that you use at a timing whereby you're exposed. You may not want to use, but you're exposed to something.
You're exposed to it.
And you have company.
Access.
You have company around you that is using. So at that time, you don't find it of much trouble to test or try anything out at that time.
Yes.
But you can see it grows. Addiction is a progressive, relapsing chronic disease, just like cancer. So when it goes 5 years down the road, that's when I said, you know what? But it came to my realization after I got a liver problem when I went for a checkup. That's when I got to know that, you know what?
How heavy did you used to drink?
Of course, like I told you, bodies are different. You don't actually know.
That
Like you said, someone said their grandfather was smoked and is 95. But me, I just did it for 5 years, but my liver damage was excess.
Yes.
So it just depends on the body.
The body,
Of someone. But being through rehab, of course, there's stigma that comes with it at that time. But I did 3 months, but within those first month, of course, you get the stigma. But when you realize that, you know what, this is helping me be a better person, at the end of it, you settle in and pass through it. And when you leave, some people leave and try to make an effort to stay clean, and others just relapse.
Just go back
of
into
course,
their routines.
But yeah, it goes.
But what do you think affects people more? I think in a country like ours, it's really alcohol. Like, yes, drugs are there, but in our country, we consume a lot of alcohol, and we have a lot of high-functioning alcoholics. The guys wake up in the morning, they do all their work, 5 p.m., bala. 5 p.m., bala, every day. 1-1. We even have expressions for it. That we're just doing 1-1, and I don't know, I'm not done research on the science, but I feel like, in fact, even in our own communities, there's so many local tribes that have their own alcohol.
And all that, yeah.
Yes, and so many tribes also use things.
I think there's a lot of people that use drugs, but because everyone knows drugs are bad, and everyone knows, like, how will this one look at me when they know I've taken drugs? So it will only stay in their circle. Like, I have a friend whose brother used to do drugs, but he'd go to work every morning like a normal person. You'd never
know.
You can never know. And then over time, it kept on. I think it shows. You don't really need to tell someone that I do drugs, but over time it shows. You start selling off your things, because sometimes you don't have money, and I've watched things where someone doesn't have money and they really, really, really need the drugs. So this guy, he was taken to rehab. First, he was fired from work. He couldn't get any other job, so he had to stay home, making him more unserious, more prone. So he stayed home. They took him to rehab, but they thought he had recovered, brought him back home, and his parents would go to work, everyone would go to work, but he's staying home alone. But he has his friends that can deliver drugs, and I hear drugs are expensive.
You hear?
I hear they're very I hear drugs are very expensive. Apparently they're bought in kilos.
It really depends on what
On
drugs
what
are
drug
like,
it
because
is.
even normal people or people you do not think believe or people you don't believe have money, they also have access to drugs like Mairunji, chewing the card. But also your situation depends, because a lot of this example is really specific to like lawyers. When they go to the law development center, they become abusers of either sex, alcohol, or weed, because you need that constant sort of fix, because that's what that addiction is. It is a fix. Your things are not moving properly, and then you need that fix. So the alcohol, those who such it, squeeze it, squeeze it, or masturbation. How would you do that? Masturbation,
Handball.
hand games. So yeah, but addictions, I feel like they usually manifest. I don't know if this is true, but they usually manifest when you have other issues in your life. Like, so you're looking for a way of like venting in a way, or something to abuse, because you're dealing with your own probably insecurities or something has happened, trauma.
Even away from when you're kids, by the way. It just sinks in at the right time that you may have issues you've had from when you're young, even your intelligence levels, your behavior, your character. So by the time you take that first spark or anything, it just sinks in, and you just find that perfect match at that.
Exactly. But when you already have mental health issues,
when you already have.
Abby,
you have trauma.
Would you allow someone to actually seek solace in a drug if it helps them function probably at work? Like someone is an
Like
IT guy
marijuana.
and he has to keep awake at certain points, and he's bringing in the money. This is probably your ninja. He's bringing in the money, and the only way he has to stay up is use probably LSD, expensive drugs. LSD and
psychedelics,
literally psychedelics, but I can't we'll go there another day, because I think those are also different in their own way. But yes,
I feel like doing the drugs, okay, it's not good, but
it is.
in the long, it's not good at all to do, because you're going to get addicted to them and they'll affect you in any other way. Like it wouldn't affect you right now, but after a while,
what if
going to
it's
affect
helping you to function?
But I feel like, personally, I feel like there's better ways to function.
But now we have seen research done on, let's say, marijuana, and the sort of stereotypes around it are changing. They are legalizing it in so many countries.
And we're saying, bro, that it is not as addictive
As
as
other things. So shouldn't we listen to the experts?
No, the thing is, if you lean towards that side, usually it's the mind, it's a choice. So if you lean towards it, you're going to go deeper into it. You're going to start with the weed, probably. You're going to start with the alcohol, a bottle. You see how it happens is, you start with a bottle, after that, actually I can take 2 bottles. That's how it happens. So if you go to weed, you're going to find other things that are stronger, much better than weed, and you can afford them.
And for you believe weed is stronger than alcohol?
She has no opinion on that.
No, but okay, according to you, as someone who is
it more problematic than alcohol? Weed, is it more problematic than
someone
because weed has no actual effect on your health.
I didn't know about the effect.
It doesn't.
But
it alters maybe your brain chemistry.
if it alters your brain activity, if it takes you out of your original mental state, I don't think it is good. Yeah, like there are those meds that people take. They're unprescribed. You just take them. They're probably going to keep you awake. They're going to make you sleep. Pain meds. But if they're not prescribed, it's just wrong, because you're using it for other different reasons.
She's saying weed is not good. Have you ever tried weed? Do you think it is not good? On an honest answer.
Yeah, of all the drugs you have used, what do you think about, let's say, which one was more addictive and which one do you would lay a compromise on?
That's a hard question for
No, but he can't answer that.
I can't answer that. But what I know about weed specifically, weed may not damage your organs or
whatever.
but the rationality of the brain, the thinking,
Yes,
and
it alters
the
it.
moods and everything, and its impact on the brain is so dangerous that at a certain age, any damage caused to the brain, it cannot come back.
You cannot come back.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's how bad it is, and something that messes with the brain is a bit more dangerous. Alcohol is something that it takes time. Some people even get addicted even after 25 years, 20 years. It takes time, but weed, it's faster, especially the psychoactive drugs, the ones that are not like alcohol. Those take like a shorter time to manifest with the other effects.
Is there a lot of access in Uganda? Can you get access to weed, heroin, cocaine, all those things?
Of course, very much. And now
What
it's
are the going rates?
Because right now, let me give you an example. If you went to international schools right now and you try to research what makes most students get suspended or expelled right now, they're going to tell you drugs, but which drugs? Heroin. It's going to be heroin, it's going to be cocaine, it's going to be crystal meth.
Wow.
In most international schools right now.
You've done crystal meth?
No, I've seen it before.
Okay.
You've seen it like live like
Yeah, I've
this?
seen it before.
Is it like flower?
In like, of course they're there in those local suburbs.
The local. Hey,
Please
yes.
do not tell my co-host where to get these things because
So yeah, that's how it is.
at this rate I'm fearing. And I wanted to find out from us, what do you think leads to addiction? What do you think leads millennials? What drives millennials to do drugs and then leads them?
Do you think it's like a rebel culture? What is happening? The people just.
Addiction, I feel like to get addicted to something, sometimes you don't even need time to get addicted to whatever it is that you're taking. Sometimes it's I don't know, it's just you because you want it. It's a choice. Like I said earlier, you choose to take something, you choose to take it over and over again, and before you know, you cannot help yourself. You wake up to it and it's the first thing you can think about. Before you go to bed, it's the last thing on your mind. If you can, you could do anything to get it. Like this friend of mine that I talked about earlier, her brother said everyone goes to work and he sells everything. He reached a point where he sold the dining table.
At work.
No, he sold
At home.
He sold his parents' table. He sold the cooker. He sold cameras from the house.
Did he sell the curtains? The curtains being
No,
sold?
he hadn't yet gotten there. I think by that, and then he was taken back to rehab. At that point, he was first taken to jail, and then taken to rehab. Like at a point, you cannot help yourself.
But before you ask, I want to ask Mark, for you, how did you beat it? Because you're just one in a million.
For me, the biggest shock I told you was my health.
Liver, yes.
Yeah, my health was the biggest shock, and I knew I had to change something at that exact spot. I didn't care what other people were like saying, what my friends, even the ones that have. I was like, no, you know what? This is my health.
Yes.
If I don't make this choice to recover, then it's me going to lose. Yeah, at the end of the day, that's how I pushed on through.
But like when you're in rehab, do they teach you like how do you stay strong, or how do you make sure you don't get to that level, or how do you beat it if you're already at that level? If you beat the addiction, or make sure you never get to the addiction.
It so happens in rehab, it's hard to find someone who has not yet been to the rock bottom level.
Yes.
It's hard to find someone in rehab who has not been. If in any case they are inside the rehab, they're going to be not wanting to change, if in case they are there. But the ones, most cases who are there have hit rock bottom, that's the issue. So most of them try to make an effort but don't know how. So that's what they teach them. They teach them how to overcome the addiction part of it.
Yeah. So you feel like rehab is actually works, because there's a time they used to tell us that it's actually in rehab where most drugs are sold.
It depends.
If
If they take you to Mutavika General, of course, there you have to find some of those things. But if they are like private, those that really care for your money, and by the way, it's a very inexpensive treatment.
Because you're treating others.
It's almost like 8 million and above, just like 3 months. You get so.
I think we can tell people this price so that they know
Yes.
it's not good to abuse drugs.
Mm.
Unless they have a lose
It's
8
expensive.
million. Have a lose 8 million, you can abuse.
Yeah.
But otherwise, if you don't have a lose 8
And
million,
people be there for 3 years, 1 year, some
Wow.
several times. So
What do you think, Abby?
Difficult.
You know, it takes someone to jail for drug abuse, and that literally exposing you to more drugs.
but also
Does it work?
bringing back that problem.
The
like you're not
problem.
really helping. Huh?
I know of someone that was taken to rehab for weed.
Mm.
He was so addicted to it that he was actually seeing things. He was about to run mad. So he was taken to rehab, and I think it was Butabika.
Mm.
He was taken to Butabika, but on the third day, he had already gotten someone that gives him weed tea. So usually he'd be taking tea, and everyone is wondering why he's taking a lot of tea. Yeah.
It could not be because he's an Englishman.
No. So he was taking weed already. So they wanted to figure out how to help him, but there's no way to help him. They just took him to another.
Yeah, but you
Do
know,
you think African parents also change the attitude? Our society, has it changed the attitude towards drugs? Do we recognize that people may be struggling in their lives and that's why they abuse certain things, that now it's the best thing to rehab and not take them to
Not
jail
take
like
to
you
jail.
said, or just leave it to walk on the streets naked?
I think that's what we're missing on.
Mm.
When people see an addict, they don't see him as a sick person. When they
Yes,
see an
yes.
addict, they
As
just
a
say,
spoiled person.
that one is spoiled, that one is what, that is. But they don't actually notice that addiction is a disease like any other chronic disease, like cancer. Like something you have to battle almost for the rest of your life. That's the stigma around it. So people don't really see the urgency of helping someone who's an addict. They say, that's his personal choice. But actually, getting addicted, being an addict is not your choice.
It's not your choice.
But your choice was to use a substance,
Yes.
but being addicted was not part of your plan.
Abby, you had moves, right?
Yes.
And what would be your approximate on the number or the percentage of students that used to use a certain drug? Lean, especially.
There's a lot.
There's a lot. And do you think it's mainly because of peer pressure, or it just looks cool sometimes when you do this thing?
Usually by okay, in year one, everyone is like, oh my god, this person takes weed. No, this is so wrong. But by third year, you're going to find that this person that was judging those guys, they try it once and
They own it.
yeah, their thing. They live for
Now,
it.
now they are
They're now
things.
the ninjas.
They know the ninjas.
So you feel like most people actually start doing these drugs while at university.
Yeah,
But
I think when you're in a place with people your age, you know, when you're with people that think exactly like you, you're going to get to that point where it seems okay for you to do things because those people are doing them. And when, okay, you have a close friend at school and this person decides to try out this, they're going to tell you to try it. There are those things people, girls especially, there are things, girls are, in most cases, you'll not find a girl doing something alone. She'll always have friends. It's a circle. Girls usually do things as a squad, I think. So if one of them does something and they're going to see that it's done nothing to them, they've enjoyed it, so they'll also try it. And then they'll over time bring more friends to try whatever it is they're doing. And before you know, it's a lot of them.
Are doing the same thing.
Yes.
One question I want to ask all three of you is, don't I sometimes wonder, I feel like sometimes drug use and drug abuse, especially of the substances that are outlawed, is just a PR thing. Because how do you explain? I know, for example, weed alters the brain, but weed is not as dangerous as nicotine and tar in
Or
cigarettes.
alcohol itself.
Yes, so why is nicotine, why are cigarettes legal and then these other things illegal? Shouldn't we also be fighting like cigarettes? Because no one really cares. With cigarettes, people's whole lungs are almost, I don't know, destroyed, damaged, and people just die. And all they write is like a small thing on the back, please, take cigarettes responsibly. Don't you think it's a PR thing that
Yeah.
certain drugs are almost legal versus other drugs that are illegal but may not as, I would not say may not be as bad, but like certain drugs have been made legal, yet they're as bad as all these other drugs.
For the drugs that have been made legal, for example, you said weed and cigarettes, most countries have made, it's like states in America have
Yes.
made weed
Yes.
But
illegal.
medically.
Yeah,
Medical,
medically.
yes.
So those two, like for the example, those two, they are like two things. One is economical issues, economically.
Yes.
People make money out of
People
it. The
need to make
government
money.
makes money out of
Mm.
it. Everything. Then the other, from the economical part of it, is its exposure, the availability of it.
Ah, yes.
Yes, how much it's very available for someone to get a cigarette. That's why numbers keep going up of people addicted to nicotine and all that.
Are there any people in rehab who are addicted to like smoking?
Of course.
Are they the largest number?
Alcohol is the largest, but
In Uganda, yes.
alcohol is the largest, but cigarettes they move together most especially.
Okay.
Yeah.
You?
I think the weed and nicotine have been legalized in certain countries because these things have different effects on people. If you took 10 cigarettes, you're going to probably just go and sleep it off. Apparently, it gives you a sort of like a head rush, so you just get dizzy for a while and you're going to be fine. But when you take hard drugs, those ones, that's why people talk about overdosing, the OD, something of the sort. Usually, I think those are more like chemicals. Take too much chemical and it's going to affect you almost immediately. It's like poison to the body, instant poison. So you're going to take that and you're going to take too much of it. That's why you see that these people that take drugs, effects of the drugs, runny nose, loss of weight, those are the different effects that it has on them. So imagine you take that for a week, constantly, probably a kilo or so. I don't know how much of it. I don't know how much of it you have to
A
take
kilo, I think, is
for
too
it to
much.
affect you. That's much.
Just putting it out there. I feel like a kilo is too much.
I don't know how much it is you have to take to have that for it to have that visible effect on you, but over time you take a lot of it because during lockdown there was a video that was going around of a certain girl that did drugs. She was taking crack and she came for I think 4 videos, but in the first video she was still chubby and healthy. The second time she started losing weight. By the third time she had no teeth. That
was either heroin or
crack. I don't know
crack.
what, because her boyfriend used to sell those things. She had a
Boyfriends
stepdad
out there.
and he was doing
that.
bad things to her, so she'd say it's still with her
Doesn't that-
boyfriend. Her boyfriend would sell crack, so she was at the source. And
Too
by the
much
third
sauce.
video, her body was itching. She couldn't deal with herself. She'd escape just to get those drugs of hers.
Yes.
So
As-
over time, they kill you.
As I answered this one, and as we finish up, I wanted us also to focus on the next thing of how can we bring awareness to alcohol and drug issues faced in Uganda and propose certain solutions. What are these solutions? But then on the issue that you asked about PR, I'm going to go a little bit hard on this because being a capitalistic society, the people want to sell, or the big companies want to sell where they are benefit
market.
the most. That's why you see there's a time when how cigarettes started being sold, they would give Hollywood actors to smoke them to look cool. You get? And this is how these things were. It's called what? British tobacco what was existing here
Yes.
in Uganda, but then they were having a lot of issues and they were trying to try and at least regulate. But of course, how would you regulate something in a third world country where actually laws don't function very well? But yes, the PR way is back then they were actually selling this. That is why you see the competition came with marijuana. Marijuana is very cheap, easy to access. Someone can easily plant them and just dry and very easy. So the plan was make marijuana look worse. And that is how they push marijuana out of everything. Because they want to sell
They are nicotine.
But now with time, with this cancer things coming up and some of the research is saying that certain consumption of marijuana helps healing or helps regulate your cancer. That is how they started allowing some of these things to actually get into. But knowing that they are going to affect the competition with what? with nicotine, and yet that is their biggest thing. That is why you see nowadays certain big cigarette companies, they will show you how your lungs will look after you've smoked. How you, like some ugly picture, but that doesn't stop the ninja. Just buy it and never look at that part. Or you just pour out all your things, put in a cavera.
I have a friend who told me that for him now they even prefer to buy, when they go to ask for cigarettes, they ask for the old one.
The old one, they don't want this new one which has which has a filter. So what do we think as we conclude? What do you think
needs to be done?
Awareness to be raised among youth.
I think it's most especially it's the issue of role models. Role models, people who have actually, because I don't think these things are going to go anywhere. The drugs, the alcohol, it's just going to get worse and worse. But the awareness I can think of is role models, people, because now like me, for example, I look up to people who have actually been through what I've been through and have made it. For example, this guy who acts movies, what's his name? The Captain.
Chris Evans.
No.
Captain America.
Samuel Jackson. 30 years sober now, but he still pushes. Those are the people that are supposed to create awareness for us.
It's really hard for Chris Evans to be someone. Chris Evans, the Ugandan musician.
No, what's the name of that Captain America guy?
I don't know, but it's not Chris Evans. Chris Evans is the Ugandan.
It's called Chris Evans.
Musician.
It's called Chris.
It's Chris Adams.
No, I think Chris Adams is a perfume.
It's a perfume. I've been misled by my producer.
So as you can see, I was always the right one.
You are always the right one. But yes, Abby, what do you think? He has mentioned things like role models.
Yes.
I think to increase awareness, there have to be some. People need to use the media. For example, some people do not know that it's 26th of June. Every year is Awareness Month for Drugs. Set by the UN. And then also red and purple are those colors for, like, if you wear red and purple, it's like you're standing with those people that have been addicted to drugs before.
The irony is the color for lawyers is purple, but
True.
So I feel like sometimes we should use the media. Like, okay, people go for concerts a lot. There are concerts and there are those things where people go in large numbers. I think sometimes people should take, like, it takes less than 2 minutes, 5 minutes to tell people about the effects of using drugs. And then use social media still also. Because there's some, like the video of that lady that had grown really ugly because of drugs. We saw it on social media, and if you show it to people that are addicted, they're going to notice, and then they'll know the effects, and it will help them.
I think as we conclude, I'm just mentioning this, we are done with the discussion, but I'm going to read out something very necessary for our millennials out there. Millennials are more likely victims of alcohol and drug-related deaths and suicide. 2 NGOs, Trust for America's Health and Wellbeing Trust, published a report with a scary picture of reality for millennials. People born between 1986, the time Museveni came into power, and 1996, some categories expand to 2000. According to the report, which in analysis of data of CDC, millennials are the most likely age demographic to die of alcohol, drug abuse, and suicide. Over the course of 1 decade, 2007 to 2017, the rate of alcohol-related death rose by 69%. Suicide rate rose by 35%. Deaths caused by drug rose by 108%.
108.
Yes, 108. It has gone beyond the clear percentage. So millennials out there, please let us stop taking these drugs or limit the consumption of drugs until you're okay with doing it, because also when you cut immediately, very clearly it can make you what? It has its effects on you.
But now that we know that there are all these spaces where you can get help, that's the most important thing. Get help for whatever you're dealing with, because it's really, an addiction is a manifestation of some other problem that you're dealing with. But otherwise, guys, thank you for coming here. Thank you for sharing with us, especially you, Mark, man. You have beaten something that most people cannot do. How long has it been? 8 months?
I've been 8 months now.
8 months.
You're just 21, 22. 21.
Yeah.
You started doing drugs at a very young age.
Okay, guys, comment in the comment section below. Tell us about your experiences. Tell us what you think we can do to make that to bring awareness to drug and substance abuse. Make sure to follow us, like, share, keep up with the talk here on Broken Windows 256.
Thank you so much.